I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful, healthy, bubbly sourdough starter in less than 5 minutes. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Stephanie from The Farmhouse Mom, and today we are going to talk about how to make a sourdough starter. So you are going to be able, by the end of this video, you are going to be able to make a sourdough starter in just 1 minute each day over 5 days. All right, I've got my hair up, my apron on. Let's make a sourdough starter. We're first starting with our container. So this is my sourdough starter, and this is where she lives. This is a 1 liter canister. I got this for $1 at a thrift store, and you want to have a wide-mouthed jar. This is nice and wide. I can put flour in it without anything spilling over, and I can fill it up with water. I can stir it really easily and pour from it. So I recommend getting something about a quart size. This is a pint. So this is going to be 2 cups. This probably will be a little bit small. It will overflow. This is just an old canister that I had. I was gonna donate it, and I thought it would be just perfect for making a sourdough starter. So it might be about the same size, but you can see it's got a lot more volume. All right, now we're gonna talk about what type of flour to use. So I would say at least use an unbleached flour. I started this starter with hard red wheat, freshly ground, but I started my original starter with just King Arthur unbleached flour. So if that's all you have, go ahead and just use that. It will be totally fine. You could bake with that forever and it'll be beautiful. You don't ever have to get anything different. So we have our flour, we have our container, we have our water. Let's get started going through the steps. So your first day, put a half a cup of water with a little less than a cup of flour. You're gonna mix it up and you're gonna let it set on the counter for 24 hours. If you're really cold, like right now, it's winter time, we're about 15 degrees here. If it's really cold, you might wanna put it in your oven. Turn the oven on, get a little bit warm, and then just put it in there. Or you could just put it in the oven with the light on. Just find a little warm spot for it to go. I did not warm this up at all. It was just in our home. We keep our home about 65 degrees, and this was able to grow and survive. So it really doesn't have to be as complicated as people make it out to be, but those are some of the things that maybe might stop your sourdough starter from getting strong and from growing. The second day, you are going to get your starter. So you're gonna dump out everything except for half a cup. So for that half a cup of starter mixture that you've left inside your container, you're gonna do a half a cup of water and a little less than a cup of flour. You're gonna stir it and then you're gonna set it aside for 24 hours. So that did not take very much time at all. And now we're moving on to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th day. And the only thing that is gonna be different is you're gonna do that twice a day. So for twice a day, you're gonna dump out everything except for half a cup. And if you're not really good about measuring just by sight, just dump it into a container, scoop out half a cup, and put it back in. It really doesn't have to be super precise, about half a cup. So you're gonna do that twice a day, the 3rd day, the 4th day, and then the 5th day. And at the end of the 5th day, you are going to be ready to bake with your sourdough starter. So you can already see on day 3 how nice and bubbly my starter is getting. So here I am dumping out all but half a cup. I did this twice on day 3. And as you are stirring it up and when you put the lid on, make sure that you are just gently putting it on there. The point is to stop any bugs from getting in, but you don't want an airtight seal. So here we are on day 4. Again, my starter is nice and bubbly. It's really starting to develop the gluten strands. As you can see, it's really stringy when I'm doing my discard portion. And it's really starting to smell nice and fruity and get a nice consistency. So here we are at day 5, and my starter is nice and bubbly. It smells so good. It looks beautiful, and it has filled all the way to the top of the container. So I'm going to go ahead and do my discard. I believe on day 5, because it was so bubbly, I think I might have only done 1 feeding. If your starter is not ready on day 5, don't worry about it. You might just have to do a day 6 or a day 7. Just keep feeding it until it's nice and bubbly and it smells fruity. So it's really that easy. And to be honest, I forgot to feed this sourdough starter its second feeding, I think on day number 4, and this is what I have made with this. I have made a beautiful dough that I am going to make tortillas with tonight. You can see it's nice and bubbly and fermented. It's beautiful. That is one of the beautiful things about sourdough. I made this yesterday. I was gonna have Taco Tuesday, but I decided I didn't want to, so I just put some saran wrap on it. I put it in the refrigerator, and now I can have that for this evening. That is one of the top reasons to bake with sourdough. If you are ready to bake with it, you can. If you want to put a pause on it, kind of like a Ronco appliance, you can set it and forget it. You can just put it in your refrigerator and you can pick it back up when you're ready. It's really beautiful. The number one reason to bake with sourdough for me is, 1, it's delicious, but it's really healthy for you. So there are active probiotics in this sourdough starter. Now, when you bake it, it does kill all of the probiotics, but you're left with those really healthy prebiotics. So the main prebiotic in sourdough bread, sourdough goods is fiber. So that's going to be really healthy for your gut. It's going to make it easier for you to digest the bread. So for some people that are on keto or any type of lion diet or any type of carnivore only meat diet, they're not eating a lot of fiber. But for most of us, we are having a small amount of healthy carbohydrates in our daily diet. So now we are going to talk about the discarding. What is discard? So this is a healthy, bubbly sourdough, but here in a few hours, it's gonna deflate. It's gonna be a very runny mixture, and it might even have a little clear liquid on top of it. It's called sourdough discard, and you can bake with the discard. It does not need to be bubbly. Most of my baked goods are made with discard. I just made this beautiful sourdough loaf. It was not made with a bubbly sourdough. It was made with discard. So discard is just the flour and water, that healthy starter that's not bubbly. It's not been fed. So it's been sitting out on your counter and it's runny, it's not bubbly, and it's hungry. You can still bake with that. Another meaning for sourdough discard is what we did while we were making our sourdough starter. We discarded all but a half a cup every time we fed it. A lot of people do not like that part, and it they kind of get hung up on it, where they feel really wasteful. They don't want to throw away flour and water. I've only done it once 4 years ago when I first made my little starter. It's the only time I've thrown away flour and water. And I didn't throw it away. I mixed it with water and I threw it out on my garden. So it is a necessary step. If you didn't throw away that small amount of flour, you would wind up using probably 5 to 10 pounds of flour, and then you would have all of this discard. You wouldn't be able to bake. And so people get hung up on throwing away that very first bit of discard. Just do it. It's going to be okay. It's maybe like 50 cents, maybe $1. That's all you're wasting. And it's not really wasting, because your starter is not going to be at a healthy level, and you want to make sure the bacteria is nice and healthy. You want it to be bubbly, you want it to be smelling good. And those first couple days, the bacteria is really weak. It hasn't built up that really strong profile of all of the lactobacillus and all of those healthy probiotics that is found in sourdough. So we're just gonna get over that, and we are going to discard. It's just for 5 days, and then you never have to do it again. So I use my sourdough starter almost every day, and when I'm not using it, I just put it in the refrigerator. I've had it in there for a couple of weeks and it's really strong and healthy and it has been fine. I've heard of people having it in their refrigerator for 6 months and then you can bring it back to life. If you want a fail-safe backup for your sourdough starter, do you see all of the dried flour and water that's on the outside of my sourdough container? So what you can do is you can chip off some of this dried flour and water, or what will be easier is you can just spread it on a piece of parchment. You can let it dry. Do not dump your discard down your drain. This is the strongest glue you've ever had in your life. It is so strong. Don't dump it down your drain. If you need to do that or if you have to do it, water it down by like a gallon of water. Flour and water is so sticky and it will clog up your pipes. It will cause so much problem. So don't put it down your drain. Let's talk about the type of flour that you might want to use. So some people want to start with just the bare minimum when they are starting with sourdough. And like I said, you don't really need anything except for a bowl, a container, some flour and water, and you'll be good. If you are interested in having fresh ground flour, then let me show you what I use. If you want to raise the flavor and the nutritional profile of your flour, then fresh ground flour is the way to do it. I'm almost out, but these are my hard red wheat. This is a really good wheat berry to use when you're making sourdough that needs gluten. So if you're making bread, if you're making like a little pizza dough, for tortillas, I've tried soft flour with my tortillas and I didn't like it. I like the hard wheat. And the very first thing that I got when I started making sourdough was my Nutrimil Harvest. I have really been into health and food for many years. I was a vegan for 13 years, if you can believe that. I've always been interested in learning about things that could be healthy for me. Fresh milled flour was something that I was really interested in. So if you look back at my channel, you can see that I've had and used my Nutrimil Harvest for 4 years. I love it so much. Nutrimil is a great company. Their customer service is top tier. So I did have an issue with my Nutrimil Harvest and they sent me another one, no questions asked. But if you are interested in a Nutrimil Harvest, you can get an extra $20 off with my code, TheFarmHouseMom, and I will leave that link below in the description box. Some of the reasons that people don't try sourdough is they think that they don't have time for it. In fact, it is a time saver. Next week, I am going to give you 3 recipes that you can make with your sourdough starter. So I'm going to give you 2 discard recipes and then we will do 1 recipe that we will make with a nice bubbly starter. So this is a perfect opportunity to get started day 1 of your sourdough starter, and then we can meet back next week and make a recipe together. If you like this video, if you liked seeing me, please consider subscribing so you won't miss any of my videos that I have coming in the future. And if you are a regular subscriber, you know that I have baby goats that are due. They were born, and so let me show you video footage of lots of cuteness, and I will see you guys next week.